stands for Sources for Current Event News in Israel?
You know, that's a great question, Barry. As I was just starting the show, and interestingly, I put as a subtitle for today's shows like "In the News of the Jews," and some great sources for news. So that's a great
Yeah.
it's a great opener. I couldn't have paid you better off to start the show on that note.
Ah,
So welcome to everybody that's joining. We're where you get your news. That isn't that just become the question today. I suspect in the back it used to be easier. There was one paper, it was local, it was the only thing you could get every morning. And it said whatever it said. Maybe it had a leaning, maybe it had news of interest. But today you get news in a million different places, and it's one perspective or another. Probably there are probably very few places to get news where you get a variety of perspectives. You're generally getting one. I'm gonna share one interesting possible way that you could get the news. I'll tell you where I get some news, and which I think is a little bit interesting. I was someone showed me the concept of Google Alerts. Now this is not going to totally fit your needs for news, but there's a Google has a free service that you could get an alert about something that you're interested in. So let's say you're interested in Israel. I want to know Israel news. So you could put a Google alert on for the word Israel. And the way that works, and I have one like that. And what that means is that every night at 10 p.m., I'll get an email from Google, which is just a list of the top 10 headlines of the day on the internet, anywhere on the internet from anyone, in English, I guess, that the word Israel appears in. So that is interestingly is very that is pretty broad. Now I don't know, are the algorithms somewhat biased or is there any tampering with what should be just a natural numerical, the top 10 headlines, whatever they are, from whatever perspective about whatever topic, but it's revolved around Israel. I get one every night and I look at it, and sometimes you'll get from major American news outlets like the Times or the Washington Post or something. You almost always get something from the Al Jazeera network, which is likely to be, one perspective. You could get some from Israel itself. There's some Israeli English papers. And it's an interesting digest. It's like an approach. I've enjoyed it. It's a free service. You can put any kind of a word or a series of words that you're interested in, and it'll get you. That's one place to get news. And I just discovered recently, that's just one idea. So to answer your question, where do you find out the news about the Jews? The old days, you just used to sit on the porch with the bubbies, and they could tell you everything you needed to know. And now you can't do that anymore. But or maybe you can, I don't know. The other thing I just found, there are a bunch of interesting Jewish wire services. I learned of one called the JNS. I suspect you would enjoy, Barry, who asked me this question. The JNS. Look for that. It looks like a kind of a wire service of Jewish news, and there are a variety. There's the JTS, the Jewish Telegraphic Service, is probably the best known. There are also some ones from if you want a religious news source, Jewish religious news. There's one called and it's in English, but it's called after a Hebrew word, matzav, Matzav, matzav. So matzav is a Hebrew word which kind of means, what's your status? What's your, today's status is a big word, or what's the update? And you can look up matzav news, and it's a great way to find news. And again, I think the idea is to triangulate. You have to get news from a variety of sources, and when you see the same incidents or topic referred to from a variety of perspectives, maybe you can come to some sort of a sense of what's going on out there. I don't think that we without reading a multitude of news sources that anybody's getting a fairly well balanced diet of news. Of course, maybe fasting from the news is even better than getting a balanced diet. I'll just throw that out there. But I think triangulating is probably our best bet. And it's good to see. There's actually a phrase that we have in the Talmud. We say, "Me oivai techachmeni." I think it's from the Tanakh. It means, let me learn from my enemies. I'm happy to hear from the critics. Let me, if there's something they want to say, let me listen. Let's listen. We can learn from them too. The truth is that a person should really, just on a personal level, this is not about the news perhaps, but related. On a personal level, a person should strive to desire criticism. That's going to sound really crazy. Like, who wants to be criticized? Nobody. People tend. I think that human nature is to dislike criticism. People don't like to be criticized. We like to be complimented. But from a Jewish perspective, we would rather say better. What would be better would be not so much to hear compliments, but it would be to hear the opposite. It would be to hear criticism. Criticism is something you could grow from. Now, it may not be true, but you can hear it and then you can assess, is it true? And if so, then it's something that you can learn from, grow from. You want to hear that. If I'm going to improve, if I'm going to grow and to be more than I am, which should be all of our, desire. And that should be our leaning. So if I'm going to do that, I have to hear what I can work on. We should want that. And a person, I think, Jewishly, with their head screwed on straight, would desire criticism. And we should want to hear from our critics.
It's a good balance for cancel culture.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I do. I think that the concept of just striking people and canceling them and their opinions is probably very counterproductive to societal health. We're going to need debate, and we need to hear from people. And we need to sometimes we'll need to say that people's comments are out of line, but to just simply put them out of the discussion, I think my personal opinion is that we're better to have conversation, have discussion. That's my, I will definitely say that. There's, speaking of the news, this is not news, but it was once upon a time news today in Jewish history. So I noticed a couple of things. A couple of countries the Jews were kicked out of today. I always like to give you that report. Happened to be that in 1496, the Jews were kicked out of Syria. So that's kind of an interesting one. And likewise, today in Jewish history, in 1891, the Jews were expelled from Moscow. So just always fun to share today in Jewish history. It doesn't always have to be what city or country we're expelled from today, but boy, it tends to be. If you're looking for that kind of news, there's unfortunately there's a lot of that. So welcome to everybody who's just joining, and I also wanted to share another little bit of news we had in the community. I wanted to share our my condolences, as we always like to share some community news. This week, unfortunately, a dear friend, Sarah Arbess, lost her mom, and so we share our condolences with Sarah. Her mom was not well, lived in Toronto. It's tough. It's a tough time in the pandemic, having to go through difficult family moments like this, and not being able to travel and to get there. Canada, getting in and out of Canada right now basically was impossible, and certainly not in the time frame that one would want to do a funeral. So she was not able to attend, and our best wishes for well-being for the family, and our sending our condolences to the Arbess family and to the Levy family. Okay, so today we amazingly, before we move on, just wanted to share again our personal excitement here in Colorado as we watch Clean Speech Illinois unfold, the first campaign outside of Colorado. And today was their day 2, being the 2nd of March. They're doing a March campaign. Amazing stuff going on. Videos from young college students on multiple campuses, and really the way that they're pulling it together in a pandemic is just unbelievable. It's another joint effort, just like in Colorado, where we saw so many Jewish organizations coming together to do it. These all the Jewish college campus organizations pulled together to do this, and that's really amazing. In fact, I just learned that my colleague over there, Rabbi Khan, who's spearheading it on the University of Illinois Champaign campus, where he and his organization JET have been educating Jewish communities members for many years. He is going to be featured in the Fox News tomorrow. He'll be on the Chicago Fox News TV program, speaking of Jews in the news. So that'll be a nice one. Okay. Now, this week, as we're again, we started yesterday turning our attention from Purim, kind of on the way to Passover. We have a little bit of time to before we really have to dig in our heels about Passover and talk about things going on in the Parsha and et cetera, et cetera. This one is really today one of the tougher stories and narratives in the whole of the Torah in this week's Parsha. Parsha's Ki Sisa. The Jewish people have just come out of Egypt. They're at Mount Sinai. They just got the Torah and they are flying high on, everything is rosy. And right in the middle of all that, possibly the one of, if not the lowest moment in our history. And there's the famous story of the golden calf. If you're familiar with it, you'll know to what I'm referring to. And if not so familiar, we'll tell you a little bit now. An unfortunate tragedy that we're reading about. The timing was exactly 40 days after the holiday of Shavuos. Shavuos is the annual celebration of the Jewish people being at Mount Sinai and getting the Torah, hearing the 10 commandments said by God, and getting an opportunity to opt in to the fantastic relationship, to become the people of the book. That happened on Shavuos. And the following 40 days and 40 nights were the famous 40 days and 40 nights of Moses being on Mount Sinai, downloading the Torah. It's we've been downloading from the cloud for many millennia. And, it's only downloading from the cloud only became popular lexicon now recently, but Moshe downloaded the whole thing from the cloud in those 40 days and 40 nights. But at the end, the period of time didn't end well. And he came down to a group of people the Jewish people who had basically, as we're going to see, violated the first instructions they ever got right there in the 10 commandments. And they created an idol, a little golden calf. That was one of our most ignoble moments as a nation, and it almost cost us, the whole nation, almost cost them the entirety of the fantastic relationship and opportunity that they just had gotten. So it's really not a great story, and we read about it this week. Now, before we drill down a little bit, it's interesting. You could ask, one might have thought that that this would be something that we would read about on Tisha B'Av. There are days of tragedy in our calendar. This date is actually a fast day like Tisha B'Av. It was, again, 40 days after Shavuos. It happens to be, it's the fast of the 17th of Tammuz. We fast on that day. And you'd think on that day, we'd read this story because that's what happened in that day in Jewish history. Although it's bad news, we're busy fasting for it. Well, you'd think we would read it. We actually don't. We don't reread it. And I believe that the reason for that is the Jewish people are much more hopeful, optimistic, and interested in gleaning the lessons that we talked about before. When we're interested in our criticism, it's because we strive always for better. And instead of reading the story of the black day in our history, in our year, we're reading something which is much more productive in a sense of uplifting and positive. We read about the story to understand it, to learn from it. But on the date, on the anniversary, we're not trying to get back to, we're not trying to re-experience something that's the negativity, the sad, the low point. We're trying to read, we're trying to be in touch with our history in a productive way, in a very forward-thinking way. The goal of all of our study of history is in order that we can glean its lessons. It's not, the Torah itself is not a history book, and it's not just a story book. It's a practical book. It's where we're trying to glean life lessons and to try to find ways in which we can make our existence on this planet better and better for those around us. And so there in here somewhere is something that we can learn from, that we can utilize in exactly that way. So let's see if we can drill down about it, understand the story a little bit more deeply, and see if we can draw out from it something beneficial, some point that we can take from it. The first question that we're going to talk about is really, in a sense, is idolatry. On the one hand, that whole word idolatry, it sounds so foreign. It sounds so weird. What is, what is idolatry anyway? What are people really after? Creating a little statue or a figure, worshiping it, an idol? What are they really looking to accomplish there? It doesn't seem to be something that's very present in our world. I don't think that there are any. If I had to guess, I haven't been in everybody's home on my block, but if I had to guess, I don't think that anybody on my block is worshiping idols at home. I just don't think so. And yet this was probably once a much more common experience. The Jewish people are in the desert, have just coming out of Egypt, and Moshe says, "I'm going to go up to the top of Mount Sinai. I'll be back in 40 days." On the 40th day, he hasn't come back yet. And they get very nervous. And so their response, their attempt to solve the problem was to fashion a little gold figure, and that was going to solve the issue. Now, let's be clear. Here, their attempt was not to replace God, but it was to replace Moses. Moses himself is missing. Moses, our leader, Moses is got us. He's taking good care of us, and he is our interface. Moses is the one through whom God is sending us help, leadership, guidance, inspiration, our needs. And it's to Moshe we turn when we want to understand, when we have questions, we want to know what God wants of us and what are his instructions. So Moshe is the interface. And that's a concept that we really understand at many levels that Moshe provides. He's like the go-between. He's a little bit like the cell phone. If you want to talk to God, how are you gonna do it? So Moses is your vehicle. When Moses is not coming back, 40 days have come and gone. Moses is still on the mountain. How does a person live up there for 40 days and 40 nights? They don't know. And are classically speaking, our sages say that they were one day too early to expect him to come back. Moses told them he was going to be gone for 40 days and nights, and he meant 40 full days and nights. They started counting the day he left. He didn't start counting until the next day. They were one day off. One day too early to expect him back. And instead, and what they did was they needed a replacement for Moses. And this is very, very clear from the words of the story itself. It says, listen, we need to make, we made this calf because that man Moses, we don't know where he is. So what's the desire there? There is within each and every one of us, there's a desire to connect to something big, something transcendent, something more than ourselves. We recognize innately, and we have like an inner compass which pushes us towards this, my world, my study, this little room, this little life of mine. This can't be all there is. There must be something more for me to be part of. And there's an absolute inner drive that pushes me to look for, to search for, to strive for that connection. I think in the Jewish people, it's a very powerful drive. We have a name for this spiritual need. It's referred to in Yiddish as the Pintalayid, which means like a little point of a Jewish spark of soul that's inside a person that has this that pushes a person in that way, pushes a person towards connecting to the transcendent, to what's greater, what's more than me, what's worthwhile and bigger. There must be a big reality out there that I'm a part of, that I have my place within. And if you think that Moses is your access to that, and you lose that access, then that is an existential problem. This is as much as we need to eat in the desert. We need that as well. I believe if you look at Elie Wiesel's writings, having survived the horrors of the Holocaust, he speaks about this idea as well, and man's search for meaning. This ultimately this idea that we're driven to connect to something greater, something real, some purpose, something transcendent that's beyond us all. And that is a powerful human reality. So the concept of an idol for us to try to put it into context that does mean something to us is to recognize that we might strive to satisfy that urge, and we could do it in a classic Jewish way, and we could do it in a way that Jewishly is considered to be an inappropriate way. It's a little bit like you can take one of several paths on Google Maps. If you know where your destination is, Google Maps will give you 3 options to get there. This one is the shortest one. This one won't have any tolls, and this one is if there's traffic. You get 3 options. You could choose your options. You have multiple ways of feeling a sense of greater connection. Some of them are okay for others. Some of them are not okay. And for us, we have an invitation to connect to godliness and transcendence in the way that the Torah describes. It's the way that Jews have been doing it for the longest time. Connect to something more than ourselves. But there's also a way that we're proscribed from doing so. There's ways to choose and to search. Man search for meaning. Did I say Elie Wiesel? I meant Viktor Frankl. Thank you. We have a research team, a crack research team that is always there. Thank you very much, Nechama. I have a copy of it sitting so over there. I just on the other side of the room. We have a clarity as a nation about what's the directions that we're supposed to take, and we are fortunate that we have an opportunity to pursue our strong desire to be part of something greater, to be part of community, be connected to godliness. And we have a lot of help for that and a lot of instructions. And we have ways that we are not to do that. That's really what the 10 Commandments start off with. Think about the first of the 2 of the 10 Commandments. I am the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt to be God to you. And the second one is don't have gods that others use as their means of connection. You shouldn't do that. You're not to do that. There's a positive and negative. This is the right way. This is the wrong way. God says, I want to connect to you. I'm your transcendent source, and I'm here to connect to you. And I'm here to give you an opportunity to be part of something greater than yourselves, and to use the means at your disposal that I'm giving you to fix the world, to bring about greatness, shalom, to bring about peace, to connect the dots. And this is the way that you should do it. And don't do it that other ways. It's fascinating that Jews have been at the forefront of so many other isms to connect, to create, not only to connect, but to create so many other opportunities, if they would if we wouldn't take advantage of the Jewish, of the Torah, of the guidance and the wisdom of our people for other centuries, we'll for sure come up with something else. Whether it's communism or whether it's any other of the isms that we've been at the forefront of in the last couple of centuries. But those would be seen by us classically as following paths that are going and taking us in other directions. Preferably and rightly, we satisfy that need through the invitation that the Torah represents. It reminds me of one of my favorite jokes. There was a lady, wonderful Jewish lady, and she decided she just had to go see the Dalai Lama. She just had to go see the Dalai Lama. She picked up and she got a plane. This story took place before the pandemic. She got a flight and she flew over to India so that she could get an appointment. And then when she showed up, they didn't quite know what to make of this lovely Jewish lady who wanted to come see the Dalai Lama. And they said, "Look, you got it's not so easy. You're gonna have to eat a special diet, wait for 3 months, and you have to shave all the hair, on your body, and wear these robes." She said, "I don't care. I don't. It's I need to speak with the Dalai Lama." I said, "Okay." So she went through the diet and she wore the robes. She waited 3 months. She got the crazy haircut, and finally, after all that time and all that effort, they finally let her in. Here she came in. "Sylvia, come on in, and we're going to let you talk to the Dalai Lama. Finally, you can, but you're only allowed to say 3 words." She said, "Okay." 3 words to get in. She went in and she sat there and she said her 3 words, "Sheldon, come home." She had to get him back. Sheldon, we've had Jewish popes. We've had Jewish, I don't know if there's been a Jewish Dalai Lama, but at the heads of all these organizations and other groups, there's probably some Jews in there somewhere. We have a strong drive for that. There's even, interestingly, in this story, there's a funny thing that God tells Moses to make sure to tell the people that when I'm giving the 10 commandments, don't let them rush up to the top of the mountain. And Moses goes down, tells the people, when the 10 commandments are being given, I'm going to be on the top, you be at the bottom. Don't come up the mountain. Don't come up Mount Sinai. And he goes back up. And then God sends Moses down again and says, tell them again. And that's very odd. Why does, Moses, I already told them. God says, go down again. Tell them again, don't rush the mountain. Why would they rush the mountain? There's a beautiful comment by one of the great European Torah commentaries known as the Sfas Emes. And he said that the Jewish people are absolutely trained to just seek out any opportunity, every opportunity, one might say, to grab a hold of the transcendent, to connect to big things, run. The fear was, as they saw that God was, as his presence was at the top of the mountain, as it were, with Moses to speak the 10 commandments, they were going to charge. They were going to rush right up there because nothing was going to keep them back. God himself had to tell them multiple times, don't charge, don't approach the mountain, because that's what's inside us. We have that drive. We're driven. We're hardwired to be interested and to connect to great things, to seek out and be part of great transcendence. And ultimately, what that really means is it's a deep yearning, our pintaliyid to connect to God. That's what the commandments are. The word mitzvah, and we'll close with this. The word mitzvah itself is often translated as commandment, which is correct, but it's also comes from a word. A group is a batsevet, from the word, or a tsevet, a unit in the army, in the Israeli army. A tsevet is a unit because they are a group together. They're one. They are one. They have a bond. And the word mitzvah doesn't just mean that God commands us. It means that he bonds with us. And each one of those things is an opportunity. It's a means of connection. And so we're if there's one thing that we can take positively from the story is to recognize that the yearning is a healthy yearning, and that the opportunities exist, and the most fulfilling, most how should we say it? The opportunities for which we were created, given to us by the Creator, are these mitzvahs, are these opportunities in the Torah. The story of the golden calf is one where there was that drive was detoured in the other, and pushed aside and gone awry, and so the lesson, the thought for today will close. Think about this. Mount Sinai was the moment when we got most in touch with the plan to fulfill our greatest inner desire, and if we can stick to that one, stick to our guns on that, it'll be much better than chasing after little golden idols. That is going to be. We'll pause here for today, folks. Thanks so much for joining. Live at 5. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing, on Live at 5. Have a healthy and a holy day.
Thank you.